Okay, we had another really good practice day, long practice. We practiced and then had another 100-play scrimmage today. Plan on doing the same thing Thursday. Knock on wood, we've been very fortunate. We're able to keep so many bodies healthy. We're getting a lot of really, really good work. Their attitude's good, their effort's good, the coaching's good. I like where we're at in all three phases. Again, we have a number of young guys that are getting really quality work that hopefully in the middle of August can help us in some games this year, more so than ever in my 17 years here, just based on having the extra 25 guys here for spring ball. So I'm excited about that. We have one more day of really good work, and then as I mentioned earlier in the year, or I should say the spring, that I was hoping that we would be in a position that we could play a real football game for the spring. First time in I don't know how many years we've been able to do that. So we divided the teams equally, divided the coaches, and we'll have a short practice, a little bit of 7-on-7, some passing, a little bit of individual to start, and then we'll play two 20-minute halves or quarters with the clock running like it would be on game day. Instead of using a running clock, we reduced it a little bit because we don't quite have the depth to play 60 minutes. And we also want to have a half where, in case we need to get in a 2-minute situation, we can. So it'll look like a football game. We'll keep score like a football game. There'll be a break after the first 20. We'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll turn around and play another 20. We think that's what our fans want to see. They want to see football. They want to see it played the way that it's played during the season. And then we eliminated the halftime because we felt like when we went in at halftime and you come back out 20, 25 minutes later, it's kind of a downer. The fans just want to see football and they want to see everybody play. So that'll be our goal. Hopefully we can put a good show on for the crowd. It's supposed to have great weather, and we've got enough players to do that. So everything's gone really well up to now. We're just looking forward to another practice Thursday and then finishing up with what I would call a real spring game.
For Saturday, you'll put the quarterbacks in an off-colored jersey, won't you?
Something other than green. We're going. I'm thinking we're going with gray now that you brought that up.
Okay, I knew that, but it won't be black or orange.
And as much as I would love to have live tackling, we're going to go what we call full thud. But it's just, as I've moved forward during my career as a coach, and in rare instances seen a young man get hurt in that game and he's out for 6 months, I can't deal with that anymore. So we practice this way. We did go live quite a bit last Friday, probably about 50 plays, and we'll go live Thursday, probably about 50 plays, and then we'll control it a little bit Saturday just because I don't want to do some live and some not live. It'll confuse them and the game won't look clean.
Full thud, is that like a two-hand touch type of deal?
No, I mean, if you're anything that's in front of you, then they come and they thud up and wrap up. You know, we try not to go to the ground. Sometimes they do. Anytime you're going at an angle, you're going to come and play like you do in the front yard. Knees are bent, and you're going to tag off because at an angle, that's where you get people tangled up. And that's what we've done this spring, and we've been really good at it. So.
And then from I guess a general sense, what's the shakedown process of deciding the two teams?
I don't have any idea. I asked the defensive coaches to evenly divide up their defense and the offensive coaches to evenly divide up their offense. And then I don't even know who's on the roster. This is the first I've seen. I had them give it to Sean and them in media, and they split it up. I didn't even pay attention to it. I just told them to make it even to where we could have a competitive game.
Mike, you talked, I think it was last week, about the lack of conditioning a year ago because of all the missed time and stuff. Were you able to see, you clearly know that about your own team, were other teams saying, we all assumed they were the same way? Is that something you could tell when you played teams, or Is everybody in the same boat, or you think some teams might have been in better shape than others, or?
Well, I mean, I can offer my opinion. I didn't think anybody was in shape in September. That was the teams I watched in college football. I thought everybody was out of shape.
What are some of the signs you look for when you see that?
Well, defensive linemen, instead of being in some sort of a ready position, they have a knee down on the ground. And then anytime guys have their hands on their knees in the back end on defense, and then you can see wideouts that are like this until they know they're getting ready to go. And then when plays are over, guys aren't moving back quick enough and getting lined up. And then defenses don't run to the ball. So we were out of shape. And I don't remember seeing anybody September, maybe even halfway into October, that I felt like was really in good condition.
Hey, Coach, you kind of talked on it a little bit. Younger players getting more quality reps than you're used to. Can you talk a little bit more just with that with the cornerbacks?
With what? What do you mean?
Just, I mean, what are you seeing from some of these younger guys in spring practice?
Are you talking about quarterbacks?
Cornerbacks.
Oh, cornerbacks. Okay. Corey Black is getting a lot of reps and is showing what we thought we had with him, showing athleticism. And Muhammad is the same way. And so you're seeing him make a lot of mistakes, but they're making them athletically. And they're being coached, which allows them to improve and get better. Okay? DeMarco Jones, same category. Guys that have been around a little bit but haven't had as many live reps in 11 on 11 as we're getting now. So it gives them a chance to, I know this sounds funny, but make mistakes, be corrected, and then do better in the next practice. That's why I'm so encouraged, because we haven't had that luxury here in my other 16 years because we didn't have enough players to get the threes work 11 on 11. They worked a lot in individual, and they worked a lot in 7 on 7, but that's just like shooting horse in basketball. You may be real good at horse, but you're probably not as good in 5 on 5 and 1 on 1. And so those guys are getting really quality work, and those young guys are making mistakes and getting corrected.
This is not my favorite topic. But you've talked every time we've talked with you, you've talked about the fact you've been able to go 3 deep, more units, more guys getting real reps in practice. And I think we all know after the news of last week that the portal is going to be, there'll be guys looking after spring ball. If they don't think they're going to play, they'll be looking around. Do you feel like your practices have galvanized this team better and made everybody feel like, hey, I'm valuable here, and if they can galvanize over the summer like you like to see them do, this puts you in a good position?
I think there's two things there. It'll be interesting to see how people react with the portal based on the total number of availability of scholarships and numbers on the portal. That's not going to change. What I've learned this spring is with all the young players and even walk-ons, the excitement they have knowing they get to practice. And what I mean by practice is 11 on 11. They don't just get to do the drill work, and then when you play 5 on 5 pick up hoops at the Y, they get to get in now and play. And so I can't imagine that when some of these young players or the walk-on players who you really don't know how good they are when they don't get reps, when their parents say, you know, what are you actually doing in practice? And they're saying, well, I'm doing everything, and I got 22 live snaps today. I can't imagine that won't help the cohesiveness of the unit. And the players, well, I mean, let's face it, some people aren't as athletically gifted as others. Some of us might want to play in the NFL worse than anything, and you genetically don't have an opportunity. But if you're here and you're getting to work in the spring and in August prior to getting into an in-game season routine, and you're getting a lot of work, you would think you would feel more committed to the organization because you're getting out there and getting to play. You're being coached. Every one of our reps, all 144 scrimmage plays last week, were graded by each coach at each position on every player on the field. And I can't imagine that wouldn't help a young man feel good about himself.
Kind of building off of that question with the split roster, does that make it easier for those 3s and 4s to get some action this weekend?
So there'll be some guys that we have that were almost like an NFL veteran. I don't know that Malcolm Rodriguez will get more than a couple series. L.D. Brown, Spencer, there's some guys that have put their time in. They'll get a couple racks, and then they'll come out, and then other guys that are in their spots at the 2s that haven't had as much work, they'll get more work. And then that will allow, with the split teams, like you said, there should be about 14 possessions or so per unit. So that would give just about everybody like 3 series to get out there and play. Most of these guys on our team, their parents are going to come watch them, and they're going to get to see them go out for 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 series and watch them play. And that should help. What you're saying is true, yes.
I want to ask you a quick question about Dylan Stoner in reference to the next level. What about his game should give reason for an NFL team to look at him?
He's in my opinion, he's what Edelman was when he first started. I think Edelman just retired and he had maybe 12 years in the league. So he's a lot different now than he was 7, 8 years ago. I mean, you eventually your body, you slow down, even though I know he won the MVP of the Super Bowl a couple years ago. But he's that type of player because he can do all the different things like he could, and he's going to run 4.5. So if his health stays, I'll be shocked if he doesn't hang around the league for 6 or 7 years.
Appreciate you.
Speaking of Stoner, you go back to one of his first spring games where he was kind of that 2 or number 3 deep, had a big game. Braden Johnson, I remember his freshman year had. Is there anyone that you maybe can see that could be, now they get the opportunity to work with Spencer or Shane, that they can maybe elevate their presence at the wide receiver position?
We have a few young receivers that were early high school players that could show up some in this spring game because they've had a lot of reps. Because of the pace that we use with our offense, we have to play so many receivers that those guys have had, I joke with them, more reps than they wanted. Their tongues are hanging out when it's over. There's a few of those guys that could make some plays and could show up. Some of those high school, I call them high school, but early entry guys. I think you guys will enjoy. He's not an early entry guy, but he's a transfer. I think you'll enjoy watching 22, Jalen, the transfer running back. I think you'll enjoy watching him. He'll show up out there as he's learning our system. I'm really excited about our young linebackers that I think you'll see them show up out there. And I go back to the 2 20-minute halves where the clock's running in a game situation should allow for a lot of reps to where you're going to get to see a lot of those guys make plays. You'll be looking at your numbers. You'll be wondering who 11 is, who's 46, who's 36, who's 85. These are guys nobody knows about because they haven't played here, and they've started to show up a little bit out here only because they've been allowed many more reps.
I know Thomas Harper was one of those kids that first year.
He's been here a while, but he showed up a little bit.
Right, yeah. Is there anyone in the defensive secondary that you think potentially, or
Well, four and 6, those young corners that we talked about. You'll see them show up a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to think safety-wise. All those guys are veterans.
Has Rawls done much since he's?
Yeah, Rawls will show up some. He's like the other high school kids. He's just trying to figure out what to do. But he does run and make plays. So those guys can show up some. I think he's 17, isn't he? Is Rawls 17? Yeah, he's 17. So those guys could show up some, and you don't really know about them, but you're going to get to see some of them. I tell you, another one that can show up out there is 39, is a transfer Trey Rucker. He's shown up a bunch in practice. And there's so many new ones that I think I know most of their numbers, but not all of them. Jake Schultz, he was on special teams last year a lot. He's making a lot of plays on defense now. These reps have helped him, and he's showing up more, and his motor runs all the time.
Coach, back to the receivers if we can. I work in Tulsa, so of course Brennan Presley, that's the kind of guy we talk about a lot there.
Yeah.
Before you want to take the stage, what do you see out of him so far this spring, and I guess projecting his role, and how big of a step do you expect to see from him this year?
He's a big part of what we do. I didn't bring him up because everybody knows who he is and how he showed up, particularly in the bowl game last year. But, he's the guy in there at our slot position, and he's made a bunch of plays out here. And he'll continue to make a bunch of plays. He's put on 18 pounds. So, he went from when he turned sideways you couldn't see him to now there's at least a shadow. But he will make a lot of football plays.
You had a lot of defensive linemen that were missing this spring, getting over injuries. Have you extended the depth a little bit? Have you found some guys over there that, hey, this guy's going to help us?
It's interesting. We've had several young kids, as now I'm now repeating myself, and then we've had 3 players that have walked on that have gotten reps they would have not ever gotten if it wasn't for Trace and Irby and Colin and Brock. They would have been hard pressed because we're pretty deep at that position, which is rare for us during my career here, which is a good feeling. But they're getting a lot of work. So again, I go back to there'll be some numbers show up. Well, Latu, that transferred in, he'll start to show up out there. There're just some different numbers that you guys will have to look and see who they are because they haven't played here, but they should make some plays.
What about on the special team side of things? I know Hale got hurt in the Bedlam game. Do you know, at all, if he'd be available at any point this year? And if not, how are the rest of the kickers looking?
They're all doing good, okay? And this should be a really good year for us on special teams because of the speed and the athleticism we have at the linebacker, safety / corner spot. And then all the other skill guys that play that position, kickers and snappers and punters and holders, they're all back. So we should be in really good I expect us to be really good in special teams this year.
And been an extra emphasis on the return game, too, with all those.
And we have all of our returners back, with the exception of Stoner, but we have the young guys that are back that will give us a threat at the return position.
Mike, I haven't talked to you since you got a new president. You got to interact with the new president?
Only through electronics. We finish up this week, and I'm going to have a chance to get together and visit with her. And obviously, I know a lot about her. Haven't had an interaction with her, but excited about what she brings. Excited about her pedigree. Excited about her athletic background. People that I've talked to speak very highly of her in a lot of areas that I think are important in leadership and being well diversed and willing to step out there and lead, which she did with the medical center. They've come a million miles over there in the last 6 to 8 years or so, and been very innovative. And I would expect her to do the same thing here. So I'm excited about developing a relationship with her and pushing forward over the next few years.
Is it going to be a little strange for you? You've worked with the same 2 guys, the athletic director and president, for 13 years.
Yeah, a long time.
2 new ones on July 1st.
Yeah, a long time. I guess at some point you get to where you kind of move on, but we have OSU people filling those spots. And one thing that we've been very fortunate here for a long time is we have a lot of OSU people filling leadership roles in different positions, and I think that's always helped. Oklahoma State is different than a lot of places for a variety of reasons, and with us having the ability to replace them with OSU people, in most cases we all think alike, and so I think that benefits us down the line.
You think being able to see this change ages you at all?
Me? Say it again.
Do you think being able to see this change ages you at all?
There's a lot of things that age me. My knees when I walk, the times I have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I'm seeing aging signs now. Don't kid me, or don't kid yourself. But I've been very fortunate. I have my health. I'm energetic. I'm excited. Being around these guys keeps me young. But the years are stacking up. And I thought a little bit about what Barry said with President Hargis and with Coach Holder, being where they're at in their careers and moving to a different time in their life. You start to see things like that. But I guess that's just part of it. But in the big picture, I feel confident with our leadership, and I think that we'll be able to sit down, put our heads together, come up with a plan to keep Oklahoma State football at a point it's been over for a long time now, which will help carry the athletic department financially and keep everything running.
You mentioned parents excited about getting to see their kids. Is Gunner's mom excited to see about a number 12 Gundy out there?
I'm sure. She doesn't really talk much about athletics. She's been to so many of them, done so many things. She's in Bartlesville tonight watching Gage. She's mentioned very little. Now, I don't know what conversations that she has with him, but he doesn't talk much either when it comes to that. So I just think that she's, I'm probably speaking a little bit out of turn for her. I think she's excited about him being in a organization that he's always wanted to be in. That's what he's, ever since he's been little, that's what he's wanted to do. He's wanted to play football at Oklahoma State. I think she's happy for that, and that he's getting an education. It'll be a fun journey for him, and I've been able to enjoy it, just at times watch and enjoy it. So we're fortunate in that area.
Hey, Mike, real quick, we're going to talk to LD and Jarrick. Can you maybe comment on what they mean, not just their abilities, obvious, but the leadership, both those, LD's a guy who came back for another year, and Jarrick has played a whole lot for you as a corner.
Yeah, there's no substitute for, in college football, in my opinion, there's no substitute for experience. There's no substitute for toughness, and there's no substitute for leadership. We can't coach that. Now, people say, well, you can practice a certain way, or you can run them a certain amount, but in order for us to instill discipline and toughness and leadership, it takes time. It's something that it takes years. And the things I talked about earlier about the young players making a bunch of mistakes until they figure it out, well, they don't have that yet. Those guys have that. They've played on big stages. They've been in games. They've played on national TV. They've played in big bowl games. They compete, and they understand what it takes to be successful. Those are things that you can't replace as a coach in college football, and that's what you get from those two guys. And we've got a number of those guys. Like if you look at our roster, we have guys that we expect to give us that. Tyler Lacey needs to give us that. Rodriguez needs to give us that. Spencer needs to give us that. Tay Martin, if he continues as he's progressing right now, he's finally in shape and working, he can give us that. Okay? Logan Carter can give us that. Seals needs to give us that. But what those two guys can give us, we can't replace. You just can't replace it as a coach.
Pretty good.
The basketball portal is just out of control, but you guys have gone through it too, and I assume you're going to go through it more with the new rule.
Right.
Does that make the job of the head coach even more difficult in terms of, that's something, just managing the numbers, making sure you got. Is that something, or do you hire somebody to make sure of that, or how do you just deal with the uncertainty of the numbers?
So what happens, speaking for us here, is it actually affects you a little bit financially as an athletic department, because now in July, as we start to move forward here in our athletic department, get back on our feet from COVID, we need to hire somebody that football is in charge of the portal. I mean, there's 1,245 people on it right now, and so you have to. It's not as easy as just look at a tape. You have to weed through all the different things that you need to before you bring somebody in your organization. In our opinion, the effect of it, like coaches trying to, I'll just speak for me, trying to control it, you can forget that. Everybody is going to be able to move and go as they want. So we need to establish that is over, and then how do we handle it the best way moving forward to try to not really negatively impact college football. I think that we're not quite there yet from people making decisions on how we do this. They're getting there, and that number management you're talking about is how do we handle the 25 and the 85. It's just that simple. And we just don't need to make it hard. For example, if you have a school that's down in their numbers, could be they've come off probation, or they've had head coaching changes, 3 in the last 6 years, whatever's happened, and they're at 74, they should be at 85. That's a big disadvantage. And then after spring ball this year, all the way up to July 1, you can roll out of here. You could go through June here, roll out of here, and go play for Kansas State if you wanted to, and be eligible to compete in September. So let's just say that school I was referring to has 12 players, 12 is an exaggeration, 6 players leave. Now I'm at 68 out of an 85 scholarship, and it's July, and I've got to play in September. That's a problem. And I don't know how you fix it fast, or you're going to cut the legs out of some teams. So you've got to make a decision, I say them, whoever's doing it, on the 25-85. Otherwise, how do you ever balance the numbers if you have a bunch of players jet out of here on any given summer? 2 years from now it could happen. 9, 8, So that's where they've got to go, in my opinion. Somebody's going to have to balance it out. We've already said what we're doing. Okay, it's over. How are we going to balance it out and make it work? To me, that's the answer moving forward. Okay, guys.
Everybody, let's get it.
Well, with the limited capacity last year and fewer games, is there a little more excitement for the spring game because of that?
Oh, most definitely. You could just tell in the town. It's a different sense of energy. Just people just knowing that they're allowed in and just be able to watch football. Because it's a football town, so yeah, just everybody just excited. You can tell.
What about for you guys? Obviously, for you, you've been through several of them. Obviously, not last year, but to end the spring after all these practices of getting to be in front of fans and family, what does that mean for you?
It's a big opportunity just to go out there and have fun, just do what we do, and then just your loved ones, the fans, the people who care about us, just being able to watch us, just to be able to put on the show for them. That's the number one thing we want to do, and just to have them out there, that's just even going to fuel us even more to make plays. So.
Is there a different mentality going into your fourth one as compared to the first one?
Not really. It's just another day at the office. So yeah, just playing football, having fun. So yeah.
LD, you've had 13 practices now. You got one more, and you got the spring game.
That's right.
As you've been out there, either side of the ball, quarterback, doesn't matter whether it's your position. What excites you about next season? What's got you cranked?
Really just being back out there with my brothers, really just knowing we got so much guys back on defense, knowing just the offensive line, it's just excitement just to be able to see how those guys are going to react in a real game time situation, just going against somebody else just to see how they're going to play. And then we got a lot of young guys, so I'm excited to watch them as well, watch them grow. So it'll be fun. So.
In your position, I mean, if you ever want to get cocky, you might want to think twice about it because, I mean, there's 4 running backs.
And yeah, we deep, man. Yeah, we deep, and then we all got extremely just confidence to go make plays, and we all experience, and we all got each other back as well. So it's fun. It's gonna be fun. And we got depth, knowing we can count on each other, and yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
Did you hear Sill's comment when he said you guys have got a bunch of, I think it was shaken sugar or
Salt and I seen the headline of it, but yeah.
for an offensive lineman, it was a heck of a good comment.
Yeah, and I agree with him, man. They got depth, just coming from the O-line last year, what they dealt with, and then getting guys back, getting transfers in. I'm excited for those guys as well, just to see how they're going to react when the game times come too.
Hey, sticking with the offensive line, your former teammate Tevin Jenkins projected to be a first-round pick. Do you think that's an accurate analysis of him?
Oh, what, man? Tevin is an athlete, and this the thing of Tevin, it was always his mentality. If Tevin got his mentality right, just to be able to say, oh, I can do this, because Tevin everybody knew Tevin could do it. Tevin just had to get that dog in him, and you see where it's get him. Now he knowing he's going to make millions someday or it's coming soon, and that's just something that's really just like, oh, yeah, I can make millions while playing something I love, so and I'm really excited for him, man. It's just, and I caught up with him, like I want to say like last week, and it's just fun to chat with him, just smile. We talked about the past and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's an accurate analysis. So, yeah, first round for sure.
You know, Jason was asking some really good questions there. As you get to the point you're at, and you're actually at a point few college players have ever been at, that extra year of eligibility. You seeing what's going on for those guys going to the NFL, you got one more year of this. Where's your balance mentally of, I want to do this for my brothers, I want to do this for me?
Yeah, I feel you. But it's just unfinished business. That was really the thing. My mind stayed knowing I could come back just because I missed 3 games last year. I don't know if y'all know I missed 3 games, and it was just, to me, that was just like, man, I left some stuff out there. So it was literally came down to the last minute on my decision on coming back as well, and it was just like, why not? And just better your opportunity to get where you want to be, and then you around people you like and love. So it's like, why not? And then it's college, so can't go wrong.
I'm sure you ever officially announced it.
Yeah, I never did. I remember, I never did, and it's kind of like it just, oh well, y'all know now. So I ain't really got to be in the media with it. So
What was that process like for you? Like I'm assuming you had conversations with family and everything.
Family, agents, everything. It was just really just came down to like, why not? And honestly, it was a situation of like, what do you lose by coming back? And then you look at it, you see nothing. So it's like, why not take advantage of the opportunity? Then I previously got into grad school, so just adding accolades to my resume. So it was just like, at the end of the day, it came down to be the smartest choice just to come back and just try to better my opportunity. So.
Sure.
You mentioned the games you missed last year, but how much of it was also the decision to come back, those highlight moments that you had, filling in for Chuba and stuff like that?
Just knowing, what I could do, and they know what I'm capable of doing, just showing I could do that all year. That's the goal. That's the next step of just staying healthy and just making plays and helping my team win. But at the end of the day, staying healthy, and that's the number one thing I got to do. So my durability needs to get better, I feel like. So
how much of, in terms of staying healthy, the fact that you guys have so much depth at that position, how much,
That takes a lot of pressure off, knowing you don't have to be a workhorse, that 25, 30 carries, and it's just get what you get, and the next guy can come in and get what he get as well. Just knowing that a guy that's coming back in, that you're not really losing much when you come off the field. So that was a big thing with me and Chuba. When Chuba came off, we weren't really losing nothing. So it's gonna be the same way, and I feel like we got the depth to do it. So yeah.
And Coach had just mentioned Jalen being one of those guys that maybe stands out this weekend. What has he brought into that running back room?
Just his toughness, man. He's a yes sir guy, stand up guy, real talk, and it's just I can tell that he's gonna do whatever it got to take for the team to win. He's gonna be one of those guys, and he had a play. I want to say it was in a scrimmage. Not to talk about my dog, he back there, but. He put him on his butt, and y'all can really ask him about it. It was a highlight play, man. It was a screen, took it up the sideline, and so it was like a highlight play. And that was my first time being able to see like the explosiveness. And I was just like, oh, and it just turned me up. So it's really exciting. So I'm excited to watch him.
How quickly did he mesh with you guys in the room when he first got?
Oh, very quick. Like it was just like he had been here day one. He's not to talk about those. He's Samoan, and those guys are pretty easy guys to like get along with. Like we have a number of them on my team. Ossie, Sammy, Benny, our coach is one as well. So they're they're just stand-up guys, man. It's just people it's people person, and it's just easy to get along with them. So, like, he fitted right in with us, so, yeah.
LD, you just brought up Chuba, and just going back to the draft. I see scouts are having around 6th or 7th round pick. I mean, do you think that's accurate?
Nah, that's above my pay grades. I'm not a scout, but of course I want my dog to succeed, and I feel like he's gonna succeed wherever he goes. So it's just gonna be fuel to him wherever he go, and I know he gonna succeed wherever he go for sure. So he a dog. Y'all gonna see. So he got a lot of fuel to it. He's ready to get back out there on the field. I still talk to him every day, really. So yeah.
Coach Dunn mentioned at the start of spring season that possibly getting you involved in the passing game as well, getting you on the edge. And I know that was something that Chuba worked on the last couple of years, doing jug machine and stuff like that. Is that something you've been trying to work on it yourself?
Yeah, I was just talking to Gavin about it. It's just really, this whole spring I've been in the slot a little bit, and it's really fun. Like, I really enjoy running routes. I get little pointers and stuff from our slots and stuff. I ask BP, I ask Braden, like, hey, what y'all steps on this, stuff like that, just to work on my craft, just really just add stuff into the toolbox. And like you say, like, we got depth, and we have a personnel of black and brown where there's 2 running backs on the field, so one of us could be flexed out, one of us in the backfield. So just the more we could do is just really just the opportunity we're going to get. So, and then the slot is real fun, so I like it.
When you see so many NFL offenses, especially obviously you think of the Chiefs, the way they utilize
college ball.
Yeah, how important was it for you to when coming back of saying, hey, I want to improve as a pass catcher as well?
Yeah, it just really just expanding the game. Like I say, just the college is evolving into the NFL. There's a lot of pass rate offenses, and just throwing it out there and just being able to catch. And no one thing you need to do is be able to pass pro and catch the ball out the backfield. And that's just one thing I also will touch back on of what I didn't do last year enough of just catching the ball out the backfield. And that's something I want to work on as well and show that I could do that. So.
LD, you got a chance to look at the spring game roster?
We did. We just looked. We're pretty stacked over here. And yeah.
What are you looking forward to for Saturday?
Like I said, the fans, man. It's just something to get back into, the fans, and just being in the environment, really, just knowing, just like I say, playing football, just everybody can watch us and stuff like that, and just put on the show for the fans, really. So, yeah. Appreciate y'all.
You kind of feel like you got thrown under the bus on that Jalen Warren highlight?
A little bit. I mean, it's competition. It happens. I've gotten them back too, so we're even. It's all good. It's part of the game.
I'll ask you the same question I asked LD. You've seen 13 practices now.
Yes, sir.
What excites you about this football team and what it might be able to do?
Just knowing the ability of this team and the chemistry and the capability of what we can do, and just the brotherhood that we have. I just know that we can be really good this year.
Coach Gundy talks a lot about younger players. You're kind of an older guy, so you're responsible for schooling up some of those guys. How do you feel about the younger guys that might be able to help you win some games?
Feel pretty good. Like most of those guys came in, they look good, look like they can be some pretty good athletes, and they look like they have some experience to them already. So I think that's going to be pretty well in the season. It's going to help us win games and be great.
And Jarrick, the last thing I've got is wide receiver. When you lose a Tylan Wallace, those guys don't come around that often. So for Spencer and the guys on offense, and you guys see him the best. You're the ones responsible for covering him. When you look at the receiver position, do you feel like it's going to be a strong suit for the offense?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always a strong suit around here. They have guys like Tate Martin, Rashad, Langston, Braden, Brennan. They're going to be good, meaning we get great competition every day at practice, and I don't feel like there's a drop-off at all. So
you guys get pushed.
Oh, yes, sir, but we push them back too.
What's the benefit of that of that competitive, iron sharpen iron, as you get prepared for the season?
Like around here, it's usually top guys, so going against the best every day, that only makes you better, and that's going to help us down the road with competition and knowing how to finish and knowing how to compete.
Coach mentioned the fact that, especially for Saturday, it'll be thud, and that's what you guys have done most of the spring. But for you guys on the defensive side, how hard is that fine line of you just want to go out there and smack somebody, but you also got to make sure you're not injuring a teammate?
Oh, yes, sir. I think that's key because at that point you learn fundamentals of, like, how to tackle, and when it's actually live, you know what to do, and so you won't get hurt and stuff like that.
You were talking about the younger corners. Who stands out to you?
Jabbar, Muhammad, Corey Black, Jordan Reagan, DeMarco Jones, all those guys, they're doing well, progressing every day, seeing some good things from them.
What specifically you seen?
Just growth, like mentally, physically. They've fixed some things that we've needed to work on since last year, and I just see some progress every day.
Coach mentioned gotten the opportunity to see a lot of young linebackers. What have you seen out of the middle of the defense? Obviously, losing a guy like Amon, but Malcolm's there and a couple other guys. But those younger guys, the depth that honestly at times have been needed the last couple of years.
Yes, sir. They're progressing as well. They're getting better each and every day. They're learning where they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to do it, and Malcolm's leading the way for them. So I think they're going to be pretty well, as long as Devin too.
Overall, the defense, I know in one of the earlier press conferences, Jim Knowles talked about wanting to be a top 10 defense in the country. Trey Sterling talked about the secondary, wanting to be one of the top in the country. I guess, how do you get there? What are the things that you guys are working on? What do you guys do well in order to be that this season?
Well, you just got to start with trusting in each other, trusting the scheme that Coach Knowles is telling us to do, and just going out, competing every day, playing our hardest, and doing our job. I think that's going to be our key focus this year for getting us to the top.
We asked LD, but what are you most looking forward to with this spring game?
Mainly the atmosphere. It's just fans, family, friends. Everybody's just coming back, enjoying the time, and it's just competing, having a good time with our brothers. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I mean, when you think back to last year and how limited the capacity was, did it almost have more of a spring game feel with it not being the arena filled to the brim like usual?
No, the season has that season feeling. There's no doubt about that. So it hasn't been much difference.
Jarrick, last week the NCAA passed the new transfer rule that gives everybody immediate eligibility if they transfer. You guys have not had a big problem with guys leaving, but what's the attitude among college athletes now? Is there a sense of more freedom or more opportunity, or just what's the talk around the locker room about the new rules?
Well, as far as our locker room goes, we're locked in on what we need to do here. We're not really worried about the transfer portal or nothing outside of here, so can't really touch on outside of here. But in here, I feel like everybody's locked in on the goal of our team this year.
Anything else? Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.